everybody. I'm Mike. I am the founder of Total Freedom Life. I'm here today with Anna Maria, and she's the principal coach of Total Freedom Life. And today we want to talk to you about transforming fear into courage. This has been one of the things that I've really worked hard on over the last couple of years as I've worked with Anna Maria before we started Total Freedom Life. And it's something that it seems so easy to say, but most of the time it's so hard to do because fear is that's always the limiting factor in just about everything that holds us back. And until you get past that fear, and one of the things we're going to talk about is going for your purpose in life and figuring out what that is. And you really can't do any of those things until you get past the fear factor. And once you get past that fear factor, then you can finally say, and then you're not afraid to do and go for your dreams, your passions, your purpose in life. And this is what we're going to talk about today is how can you overcome any fears that you may have? And it could be anything because it's all across the board. Everybody has fear of this or that or whatever, and it's usually different from what somebody else fears. And they're always probably, I would say, you correct me if I'm wrong, but like 99% of the time, your fear is unfounded. I mean, there's no reason for it. And once you push that fear out of the way, things will just open up for you like you would not believe.
This is so true. And the reason Mike is so inspiring as a leader is because he has fully embodied his transformation. And if you are at the corporate job and you really want to live your purpose and you have all of these dreams about living total freedom life, and yet there is this fear roaming inside of your mind that is telling you you can't do it, you're too young, or you're too old, or it's scary, or there is a recession, or there is a financial hurdle, or there is the possibility to fail, or what if you cannot support your family, right? All of these fears are justified. And Mike is so humble, so he's not the kind of person to talk about his own accomplishments. So I'm here to amplify them for you. Let me tell you that this man has reinvented himself so many times, even before we started working together. And this is how you truly transform fear into courage. When you are in the game, not when you are intellectualizing what fear is and what contentment is. It is when you transform fear into courage to dare to try. And as you know, the people who are the most successful, not just financially, but also emotionally and spiritually, what they have in common is that they have completely transcended the fear of loss. This is why we know that many successful business owners have gone through bankruptcies. And then they have not only regained their wealth, they have made even more wealth because they're no longer afraid of losing money. Another example is when you liberate yourself from the fear of not being good enough. Because while we are fixated on needing someone else's approval or permission, we're constantly giving our power away. So to walk back and again talk about Mike as an example of someone who you should follow because he truly walks his talk. He has dealt with so many challenges and it's not my place to share them. However, what I want to tell you is that he is the kind of person who has the inner certainty in God, in his purpose. So it doesn't matter what life throws to him, and he's been through a lot, he always comes back and he always bounces back because he has faith. And if you're writing notes, I always recommend that you have notes. Most of my clients tell me that they usually watch our videos a couple of times until everything sinks in. So take it at your own pace. But if there is one thing you write down, I really want you to ask yourself the question, do I have faith? And when I say God, I want you to feel your spiritual power however it shows up. However it shows up. We're talking about the one source of love, of equanimity, of wisdom, of absolute truth. So the first thing you have to do to transcend fear into courage is to ask yourself with a question mark, do I have faith? Do I have unwavering faith? And to give you more world life application, I'm going to ask Mike. Mike, as I already alluded, you have been through so much. You have been tested so many times. Many people lose their faith when they are tested with all kinds of things that we experience as human beings, from loss to failure to all kinds of things. What is the one piece of wisdom that you can pass on our audience to help them strengthen their faith when things are challenging?
Um, well, for one, you have to be resilient, and you have to know that what I've learned is that every stumbling block, everything that's coming my way, big or small, I've been able to overcome it, and it was nothing to be afraid of. And I didn't, I'm still here, and I now I approach those kind of things head on. And when they happen, I look at it differently now. Before I looked at it in fear. Today I look at it, oh, what am I going to learn today from this? This just happened. What am I going to learn from this? And it could be the most devastating thing in the world, but everything that's put in your path is meant to be put in your path in order to get you to the next level, because everybody has a purpose in this world. Everybody. And that's what we're here. That's why we're here. We need to make sure that we're always useful. I mean, we were put on this earth to be useful. I mean, that's just a fact. And we all have a purpose. We were all designed for a specific purpose or purposes. Some people have multiple purposes, and a lot of them are intertwined with other people's purposes, because we all work together as a community, and that's the way life is supposed to be. And that we were all built to be in community. We all bring our own strengths to the table. We take those strengths together and get that synergy, something great, parts are greater than the whole, or whatever that saying is. Do you recall what that saying is, Anna Maria, that the two parts are greater than the whole? Or
if you refer that two minds think better than one, is this what you're referring to?
well, I'm really trying to define synergy. I know there's a definition out there for it, but it's like when two people come together, it's more than two people. It's like three.
Yes, the mastermind of God, absolutely.
Right. Right. And when you combine those strengths, it makes a much, much bigger impact
Mhm.
than just each person could do on their own, doing it separately, is what I'm trying to say. And when you realize that you're not in this alone, everybody has these struggles. I mean, a lot of these struggles that I went through, I did alone, and I didn't have to, and I realized that in hindsight. But again, that was what I was supposed to learn. That's what he was trying to teach me. And through those trials and through those struggles, I kept coming up, higher and higher, and more with more wisdom, and more clarity and less fear. I don't think we can ever just completely do away with fear. I mean, fear is there for a reason. Fear is there to say, it's to message you and say, hey, you need to do something about this. You need to, approach this in a certain way. You need to pay attention to God and what he's telling you, how to navigate through this. And once you tune in to the higher power and you lean in on that, and you know that everything's going to be taken care of, you have nothing to worry about. There's no fear. Then you can just plow right through it and get things accomplished that you never thought were even possible alone, much less with a group of people that are by your side, which is something that, I mean, that is probably one of the biggest things, because I was a tech guy. So I spent a lot of time by myself in front of the computer programming, and you did a lot of that stuff alone, basically 8 hours a day just coding. And so I just kind of relied on myself to kind of get through everything. I kind of got in that mindset. But the reality is, I probably could have been a lot more effective if I would have leaned in on the other people on the team. And maybe not everybody's like this. I mean, I'm probably stereotyping where I shouldn't be, but that was me. And when I would get into that zone, I just wanted to do it myself and just completely block everything out. Whereas some of the stumbling blocks that I came across, and this is a very simple example, some of the programming stumbling blocks I came across, rather than sitting there just banging my head against it, trying to solve it myself, I could have easily just said, "Hey, can you help me? Can you help me?" And then get minds together, get a group together, and probably would have got through it a lot quicker. And that's just a very simple example of how one way to overcome these obstacles, these fears. And once you turn these fears into obstacles, into just a lesson, into something that you need to learn from, learn how to get through, and then you surround yourself with people, like-minded people who are also of that mindset, you guys, you can get through anything.
Oh, this is so powerful and so juicy because there is so much to unpack in what you said, Mike. Such a great example. And again, let me tell you that Mike, before working together, wouldn't have had that vulnerability to share. And this is one of the most common fears I see, especially among males. That sharing of your deepest truth. Because, Mike, what you said is so relevant to so many people, especially men. Especially men. It's not a generalization, I would say it is the norm. Take it from someone who has worked one-on-one with so many executives, most of them men at a very high position. The struggling in silence is so common that it's really time for us to start talking about it. Especially executives, especially tech people who are problem solvers. And they have this mentality, I have to solve everything. If I don't solve it, there must be something wrong with me. If I ask for help, someone may think that I'm inadequate, or someone may think that I'm not good enough. For example, one of my clients that I worked with a couple of years ago at a very high position at Microsoft used to tell me that it is this silent competition instead of collaboration. It's when you think that if you ask for help, you're going to appear vulnerable in a disempowering way instead of an empowering way. And when we are vulnerable in an empowering way, it all comes down to us overcoming the fear of how are we being perceived. So to step back a little bit, and this is one of my coaching gifts, I am very efficient at giving you concise action steps. So there are a couple of things I want you to do. I already gave you the first action step. The first action step is to ask yourself, do I have unwavering faith? Do I have resilience that whatever happens, I'm going to be okay? I'm going to, as Mike said, turn every obstacle into an opportunity to learn and to evolve. Now, the second thing, which is super important, and I'm referring to what Mike said, it is all about your emotional response. Are you stuck in your head, ruminating, telling yourself, why is this happening? Why me? And this victimhood energy, self-pity energy, or are you using curiosity and inquisitiveness? Are you actually having this type of curiosity? I see a pattern that keeps repeating. How can I learn from this? I see that let's say my business goes through ups and downs. What's the cause of this lack of sustainability of my financial flow, for example? Right? Can you hear the difference? Many people freak out if they have a financial dip in their business. Freaking out, starting to hoard or starting to cancel their investments, they start to freak out instead of really getting curious. And yes, there is a place to be practical, especially if you are a guy. It's embedded in your mindset to be practical. I want you to be practical. We women love masculine practicality, so I want to appreciate you for that. However, especially as a guy, balance your practicality, your reasoning, your logic with that ability to remember that some answers are not found here. They cannot be rationalized. When it comes to purpose, when it comes to finding who you are, outside of all of these labels we put on ourselves, you have to be willing to surrender, which leads me to action step number 3. And we can put these action steps on the screen for you. It's exactly what Mike said. It is going from being the lone wolf who struggles in silence, and this is applicable to everybody, not just men. I used to be this extreme individualist because of my programming as a child. This is all I knew. And then when we evolve, as you are familiar with Abraham Maslow hierarchy of human needs, you reach self-actualization when you are with people. And to show you how similar we are with each other, regardless of our gender or profession, I've had so many conversations with leaders, and they tell me, Ana Maria, I wish I knew at the beginning of my career that it doesn't have to be lonely at the top. Success is about people. Success is about people. So how we try to over-communicate, you are never going to be afraid when you have people in your life to mirror back your light, your power. This is so important. Surround yourself with people who mirror back your light. Whether it is a coach or a community or a person you trust unconditionally, allow yourself to step away from your programming. As Mike said, most of our fear is completely hypothetical. And to give you another example, the only fear that is useful is the fear that is purely physiological. We have a fight or flight for a reason. If you are outside and there is a moving vehicle, your instinct to step back is helpful. It's this the fear of being hit by a truck that keeps you alive. So some fear is actually useful. So it's not about abandoning fear. As I tell my clients, you can be fierce despite your fear. This is when you realize that most of your fear is residing in your head. And I really want you to think about it. When I ask you from where is your fear coming from, it's in your head. It's something you keep repeating to yourself again and again and again. And as you know, the more we repeat something, it starts to become a belief. And when something is a belief, it becomes our reality. So Mike, what are the new beliefs that you have been embedding in your subconscious that are really helping you to be your most authentic self?
Yeah, and I'll answer that too. Because one of the things I thought of when you were talking about this is another stumbling block for me. Overcoming a lot of this was, especially in the workplace, and I know a lot of people will resonate with this, is that competition that's always there. You don't have to be in competition with your peers. You need to be around people who lift you up and support you. And everybody has their own unique purpose, their own unique talents and abilities. And once you find where you fit in, everything just works seamlessly. And then you don't have to constantly be in competition. And I think a lot of people, a lot of guys that I've been around with, including myself, will hold things in because of competition. You don't want to be seen as weak. You don't want to be seen as not knowing the answers. When the reality is you don't know the answer, but the guy next to you knows the answer. So I think coming to that realization and realizing I can't do everything on my own. I need to be surrounded by people who can help me overcome what their strengths are, use their strengths to overcome some of the things that I'm not so great at. And on top of that, once you, like you said, once you release control, once you surrender, everything, if you try to control something and you're trying to force something to happen, there's so much friction in that. And once you stop doing that and you say, okay, and you just let go of the control, that's when things start happening. When you were talking about, the person who all of a sudden has a dip in their business and they're scrambling, they're making this change, they're making this change, and they're making this change. And probably none of those quick Band-Aid approach fixes are going to do anything. They needed to step back, Take a breath, let go of control, and then let that wisdom that comes from the source come to you, and you will come up with a much, much better solution. And because the control thing is just going to cause friction.
I'm really feeling that, and I'm sure that those of you who are watching or listening are resonating with that as well. So make sure to give us a heart if you are, and we would love to offer you our free self-assessment on human design if you're curious. Speaking of how every single person has your own unique gifts and talents and purpose, I believe that discovering your human design could probe very interesting questions. Now, of course, your human design is a very small piece of the entire mosaic. However, it can definitely give you breakthroughs. So make sure to go to Total Freedom Life and check out your human design and let us know in the chat what is your human design. And going back to our conversation and how are we bringing the best in each other is the same thing. Mike and I, in our collaboration, which started as coaching, and now it developed, this is exactly why it's been so successful, because we are operating in our personal zone of genius with mutual respect. And this is why my type of coaching always holds this as a position that my client is whole, complete, fully capable, more than enough, resourceful, worthy, willing, incredible, and I always hold the mirror of their potential. I amplify their potential. So when they are interacting with me, I reflect back all of their amazing qualities. Because when we are clouded by fear, I want you to imagine that you have these shadows in front of your eyes. You can fully see life as full of color, as full of opportunity, as full of resources. This is when you think that other people are lucky or other people are fake for being happy or whatever it is, right? This is when the shadow self lurks in, and it's painting the world as so dark and so so threatening and so scary. And this is where fear starts to govern our behavior. This is when we start to operate from a place of scarcity, from a place of envy, from a place of comparison, from a place of fixating over fixing everything, as Mike said. And what he said, I want to repeat again. Remember the three steps that we gave you already: coming to your faith, practice curiosity over judgment, and number 3, using collaboration over competition, finding community. And then number 4, and we'll finish at 5 so that you can remember all this. Number 4 is that ability to relinquish control. To relinquish control. And when you relinquish control, you can restore your ability to be guided by a higher power, to be guided by the source energy. And this is when, and this is the most important thing you're going to hear, so please listen carefully. You go from looking for the way to becoming the way. I really want you to hear it, so I'm going to repeat it again. You go from searching for a way to becoming the way. You become the way. Because you are living through the energy of the divine. And as we are wrapping up this podcast, Mike, what is the 5 action steps that you are giving to our audience to transform fear into courage?
I'll let you go ahead and review that, because you know me, I didn't take notes while I was listening to you. I was so mesmerized.
Well, there you go. I'm actually sourcing from you. You already said it. So I'm repeating. And this is thanking the podcast, because this is why we don't have a script and everything is so organic, because what Mike just demonstrated is his authenticity of what he said earlier, of being in collaboration, knowing what are his strengths, and just to voice some of his strengths. He's the guy who is going to deliver the podcast to you, and I have so much gratitude. I have so much gratitude for his genius of turning ideas into results. That's the power of having masculine energy. I celebrate masculine energy, because if we didn't have masculine energy, what we're sharing with you would just be a conversation Mike and I are having in private. So I really want to appreciate all he does to be of service to all of you. So to finish this podcast with the action step number 5 is know when to surrender. Know when to surrender and listen. Listen actively. You know that leadership is all about listening actively. So how is listening actively helping you to transform fear? Well, think about it. How is listening actively helping me to transform my fear? Because when I listen actively, I'm able to hear what's being unsaid. I'm able to hear what's truly happening beyond the chatter. I'm truly able to hear that beyond the chatter, there is God. There is God that is asking for my permission to enter my mind and illuminate my subconscious with light, with hope, with courage, with love. So if you truly want to transform your life, you have to listen actively to what's being unsaid. What's being unsaid? What are your blind spots? What are the things that are creating a barrier between you and your purpose? So once you step back, you surround yourself with people who can take you higher, you live your life with alignment, you become the way. And just like Mike is doing, every single day, he is living in total alignment. He has transformed any fear, and every day he's waking up, and I'm telling you from experience, that's his motivation. When we were prepping for this podcast, what he told me is that, Anna Maria, I just want to serve. I just want to help people. That's the power of transforming your fear. That's the power of having a purpose. When it's not just about you anymore, it is about the higher purpose. It is about being one, and we crave it. All of us are so isolated, and we don't want to admit it. We live in a world of constant communication and yet loneliness. So if you want to be surrounded with people who speak your language and they inspire you and they motivate you, continue to check in with us, whether it is with our podcast or perhaps with our community. Whatever you choose to do, we want you to know that you're so loved and you're so guided, and we truly believe in you, and we truly believe that you found us for a reason. Let your heart guide you to your purpose, and we can't wait to see how you transform fear into courage and courage into purpose.
Yeah, and I also wanted to bring up too. You brought up a very good point, because anybody who joins the group is going to feel comfortable. I mean, just right then, when I was asked, to recite the 5 steps, my way of listening is more. I listen energetically, and I consume, and it takes me, like Anna Maria already knows. It could be 30 minutes, an hour later, and all of a sudden I take those ideas and just expand on them, and I've got a whole new, a whole new set of ideas, based around those ideas, and that's how I process things, and and that's the kind of support that you will get with our group too. Nothing you can say, nothing you can do is going to be embarrassing. You have your own way of doing things. Everybody's different. Anna Maria can recite; she can read a book and recite it word for word. Immediately after she reads it, she has photogenic photographic memory, and she's that way, but she can also listen energetically at the same time. She can multitask, which is something I kind of struggle with, at least when it comes to, public speaking and podcasting, and trying to do that at the same time as paying attention to everything else that's going on. So I just want you to know and feel that you will be supported 100%. And you should never be afraid to say anything. You should never, again, we're going back to the whole fear thing. This is one thing, you notice it didn't even trip me up when that happened, because I don't fear that anymore. I'm just going to be who I am. And if I can't recite the 5 steps, so be it. I can recite them, an hour from now, once I sit down and think about everything that we talked about. And that's the way my mind works. Your mind could work completely different, and that's okay. That's the way you were designed, and there's a reason you were designed that way. There's a special purpose the way you were designed. That's what we're trying to say here, is that everybody has that purpose, and they all fit together into community. And this is what we're striving to build, is this community of people who support each other in this way, and bring in their own talents, their abilities, their skills, and prop each other up and help each other and support each other as a family. And that's what we're trying to accomplish with Total Freedom Life.
This was so beautiful, Mike, and thank you so much for sharing. And this is why we both had an agreement that whatever happens is a part of the podcast, because so many of us have dealt with self-criticism. And trust me, it is so easy to think that, oh, this person is so good and they whatever, and they never have criticism. I used to have so much self-loathing. It was poisoning me on the inside throughout my early 20s. I was living in a constant limbo of I wasn't good enough, regardless of what other people were saying. And for you, it could be something different. You could be comparing yourself to what other people are doing, or thinking, did I come across eloquent? I said it better. Whatever it is, we're here to tell you that all of these things are so normal. We're here to remove the veil of all of this pretense online and this illusion. It's not about faking it. It's truly about embodying it, and it's truly about living it. It's about sharing it. Because even if you embody it, even if you right now are living in so much happiness with yourself, and your career is flourishing, and you have a wonderful relationship, even then, we are designed to be in a community. We are designed to thrive together. And what happens, for example, in our mastermind, imagine 12 people or more together, and everyone is sharing, and everyone is bouncing off each other, and everyone has their unique strengths. Nobody is the leader. Everyone is leading together, because we are all communing through the energy of the divine. So it is the ultimate definition of interdependence. And because we can talk about this for a long time, we're going to wrap it up. If you love that, let us know. We're going to be back with longer videos. And remember, the best discussion and integration happens inside our community at Total Freedom Life. Remember that you're so blessed, and we can't wait to continue evolving together.